Morning, good morning. This is Melvina Craw with Premier Elite Solutions, and I'm coming on today to talk to you briefly about getting your grant in 2017. I wrote my first grant in 1999. I was a teacher and I wrote a grant for a outdoor classroom project. Since then, I've written and received several grants for my personal entrepreneurial ventures, as well as managed grants for nonprofit organizations and for the at the state level. And so, what I want to do today is to talk to you about getting your grant in 2017. I have a ton of resources that I've put together to help people find grants. In my coaching services, I've had clients to reach out to me inquiring about how they can get a grant, particularly for community service type projects that are related to youth, children, homelessness. These are the type of things that I've been getting requests for. So what I've done is put together a workshop called All About Grants is going to be available on December 10th, coming to the South Atlanta area. So for a few moments, I just want to talk to you about getting your grant in 2017. I'll be dealing with this information in more detail during the workshop, but I'm going to give you a few tidbits about it right now to help you in your decision making about your grants. First of all, you want to know what you need and why. This is very, very important. It is probably one of the most important things you can do is to be clear about why you are seeking grant funding. You know, there are lots of funding organizations out there, foundations, corporations that do have grant money available. However, you need to be crystal clear about why you are seeking funding and what you're going to do with that money. And so that means that you have to have a compelling need. So there's a little research involved in developing your compelling need for your community or for your particular project that you are trying to seek this funding. What is going to set you apart? What is going to make a grant reviewer look at your application when they look at your needs assessment and say, yes, we're going to give this person or this organization some money to fund this particular idea? Number two, do your research. There are so many types of funding platforms out there. There's so many organizations, there's over $500 billion given away annually. And so, yes, you do have to do your research. You don't want to just go for hit or miss applying for grants that really you're not eligible for or just really not aligned to what it is that you're seeking. So it's very, very important that you do your research. As a member of the American Grant Writers Association, I practice the highest standards when I am working with grants and trying to ensure that I do the best job possible to help people find the money that they need. And so that involves sometimes doing an extensive grant search to actually find a list of funding resources available to individuals and organizations that are seeking funding for their particular project or idea. Number three, have proper documentation. I've talked to so many people that just are not ready. They are not in position at the moment to get the grant money, but they're wanting to get grant money. So there are some things that you need to make sure that you do to get yourself ready, get in position to receive the grant money that's available. So here are a few of those things. I'm going to be going into more detail on my All About Grants workshop on December the 10th in the South Atlanta area, but I'll give you a few of those things right now. The majority of grant funding is available to nonprofit organizations. Now, I get this question all the time, and it's really a myth where people think that there is no funding, there is no grant funding for private organizations. That is absolutely a myth. There is grant funding for all types of businesses and profit organizations as well. I have actually received grant money for my daycare that was a for-profit daycare, a startup grant I received, and also a program improvement grant. So yes, there is funding available, and there are additional resources to help you get funding. And so number one, you want to have your proper documentation and so what that will look like is this. If you are a nonprofit organization, make sure you have a copy of your 501(c)(3) letter from the IRS. Also, make sure you have your registration on and filing with the state in which you reside. Then you may or may not be required to provide letters of support, but it's highly recommended that you make sure you have a couple of letters of support for your particular project or idea that you are seeking funding. Occasionally, some at grant applications, depending on how much money you're asking for and what you need the money for, may ask you for copies of letters of support. This could come from your chamber of commerce. It could come from your local city government. It could come from another organization that is going to support your funding efforts. Maybe an organization that you will be partnering with. So you want to have your letters of support in place when it's time for you to make the application. Make sure you have your state registration. If you are a business, make sure you are registered to operate in the business in which you are operating. You may or may not be required to provide this documentation. It depends on the type of funding that you are seeking. And number 4, know who can help you. There are a lot of people out there that I've talked to. I did workshop in October, and I was really surprised at the number of people that came up to me after that workshop and really thanked me for the information. And one of the things that I learned that day is that a lot of people have talked to people, have given money to people who have not given them a return on their investment. And what that means is not that they didn't get the grant. The person took the money and didn't even apply for the grant. And so what I'm saying to you is make sure you deal with a credible person. You know, my company, Premier Elite Solutions, is a registered member of the American Grant Writers Association, along with myself, Melvina Craw. So I am a reputable company. In my educational career, in my career as a servant working in public, I am not going to be in the business of ripping people off. So please reach out to me, Melvina Craw, if you want someone who is serious about this, who is ready to help you find the information. And if I can't help you, I will try to direct you in the right path. I do that also. I talk to people, they sign up for a coaching session, and during the conversation, I discover, hey, this is not the service that you need here. Let me point you to this direction. So I'm in the business of helping people. Yes, I have my own company, but I am going to help you if I can help you. If I cannot help you, I will direct you to the right source. So the bottom line here is get in position to get those grants in 2017. You can start by making sure that you are educating yourself about requirements for grants, making sure that you're educating yourself on what grant reviewers look for when they review grant applications to put yourself in the best position to receive the grant funding. My workshop is going to be all about grants on December the 10th in the South Atlanta area. You can find this workshop on Eventbrite. There is a link for it. Look for Premier Elite Solutions, and you will find the workshop all about grants. I look forward to having you. You can reach out to me, Melvina Craw, at info@premierelite1, that's the number 1.com. That's my email address. If you have any questions, reach out to me. Thank you for tuning in. This has been Melvina Craw with Premier Elite Solutions, sounding off.